friends, welcome back to my channel. So today we're going to be doing the BookTube Newbie Tag. So if you have not seen my Authortube Newbie Tag that I did a couple of videos ago, I will go ahead and link that in a card up above. I have been on Authortube for a little over a year, or just hitting my 1-year mark this month on Authortube, which is super exciting, and I finally did that tag. And then I decided, you know what, I should also do the BookTube Newbie Tag, because I've been slowly trying to transition this into more of a channel that is like a hybrid, like Authortube and BookTube, because those two types of content obviously go really well together, because if you're going to write a book, you need to also read a bunch of books, and why not read a bunch of books and talk about it? So that is what we're going to do today. I'm really excited. This is, I think there's like 10 or 11 questions on this list. I looked at them once before, but I kind of forgot because I've been planning on doing this video for quite a while. Let's get into the questions. Why did you start this channel? So this answer is going to be very similar to the one I gave for Authortube, and that's really because I want to be able to make friends and connections with people that are writing. And it's the same idea with BookTube. You know, with BookTube you want to find people that like the same type of things that you do, that like to read the same types of books that you do, or maybe different ones, and you can learn something new. And so I really wanted to be able to have BookTube content on my channel, so that way I can make additional friendships that are outside of just my fellow writers as well. And since I've been doing this type of content, I think I did my first kind of book related video in April. I have made quite a few friends that are not writers and that just like to read the same types of books that I do. And that's the whole point, right? It's all about the community. What are some fun and unique things you can bring to BookTube? I think for me, what's different, and not necessarily, I mean, I see a lot of channels, but I do like, this is my classic shelf basically, I do like reading a lot of classics. However, I am really trying to branch out of my comfort zone this year and read a lot of different types of books. And so I think that might be kind of fun. I know I see a lot of channels where they tend to read the things that they've always liked to read. So if they have always liked, you know, fantasy, they read and review a lot of fantasy books, or thrillers, or romance, and what have you. For me, I'm really just trying everything. Just really trying to branch out and find new things to read. And so the other side of this that I would say would be unique is obviously because I am one hand in Authortube and one hand in BookTube. And so I think that it's nice to be able to connect those two sides together in a different way. So how can I connect the books that I'm reading and relate that to what I'm writing, and maybe do some videos in which I can talk about those two things together. What are you most excited for about this new channel? That really goes hand in hand with my first answer. I'm most excited about connecting with other readers and branching out of my comfort zone. So reading different types of books and being able to have dialogue and conversation about that. Aside from that, I am also writing a book. And so just straight watching BookTube videos has been incredibly helpful to me as a writer, because I can get a sense of what people in the world like about certain types of things. Like, am I putting a trope in here that I didn't realize everybody hates? Maybe I shouldn't do that. Or if I'm, you know, reading a book, it helps me to think a little bit more critically as well about the books that I read, and also how to relate that back to what I am writing. To be a good writer, you have to read a lot. And again, that's why these things go so close together. And so for me, I'm really excited because it's helping me to, again, stretch outside of my comfort zone and to teach me the things that I like and don't like in books, so I don't put those things inside my book. What book or series got you into reading? That is a really hard question to answer, because obviously I've been reading since I was a kid. But the biggest book that I would say really got me into reading would be when I read Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. I read this book when I was, I think it was like 12 or 13, and it was just became my favorite book of all time. What questions would you ask your favorite booktubers? I would say time management, because again, if you're not new to my channel, you know time management is one of the hardest things that I have in my life, because I have 5-year-old twins, a full-time job, I like to spend time with my husband, and I need to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine like every single day. So, how am I supposed to find more writing time? / now I'm trying to read a bunch of books too, so how am I supposed to manage my time doing both? And I see these booktubers that are reading 7, 8, 9, 10 books in a month, and they have a full-time job, and they have kids, and they have a husband, and they probably have a show that they have to watch every single day. So how the heck do they do it all? Because I feel often like I'm falling behind or like I'm failing on my goals, because I kind of tend to think that I am Superwoman and I can do all things all the time. And then the reality of life sets in, and I realize I'm not Superwoman. I don't have an infinite amount of time in my day, and I cannot do all things at all times. So how do those people that actually can, how the heck do they do it? I would love for them to teach me their ways. What challenges do you think starting a BookTube channel will be the hardest to overcome? Time management. Figuring out, no, I think for me the hardest thing is going to be figuring out the balance between this being a hybrid. How much Authortube content do I want to put out, and how much BookTube content do I want to put out? Do I need to prioritize one over the other? So I think it's important to find that balance, and obviously find the time to read a bunch of books. I also think the hardest thing I'm going to have to overcome is going to be that imposter syndrome. This is something that we talk a lot about on Authortube, where you see other people doing certain things and you want to be able to do that, but if you can't hit those same goals or you can't do the same thing, you feel like you are somehow some sort of a failure or a fraud. And so that's really something we talk a lot about, because especially with like right now, it's NaNoWriMo coming up. Everybody's trying to rush to get 50,000 words, and last year I wrote 8,000. And so I really suffered from that imposter syndrome. And I can really see that happening on BookTube when you see booktubers that are reading 8 books in a month and I can read 3. How do I feel like, hey, that is amazing. I read 3 books. And I wrote a freaking book, and I took care of my family, and feeling like I am a rock star. I can do all things. And not feel like, oh my gosh, I am failing because I can't read as much as Books and Lala, or, you know, all of these other huge booktubers that are able to do a lot. When did you start reading? I have no idea. I mean, don't we all start reading when we're like, you know, 5? My kids just turned 5 and they can read. I don't know if they comprehend. Like, straight up, my kid was reading a middle grade book the other day. He had no idea what he was reading. There was 0 comprehension. But he was reading the words, which is pretty amazing. So I don't know. That's obviously early readers, but in terms of when I started really reading for passion and reading for love, I don't know. Definitely elementary school. I remember reading the Boxcar Children books, I think, in the 2nd grade, maybe 3rd grade. Why are you asking me these things? I don't know. I just know that I've always been a reader, okay? Where do you read? In my ears. I read all over the place. I never read up in this room that you will. This is basically just where I write and film videos. I have really gotten into listening to audiobooks this year because I, again, don't have a lot of time, and I can speed them up and get through a lot more books that way. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks, and I do that at work and in the car and in the grocery store, and while cleaning my house and doing my dishes and taking the trash out. And basically anywhere else that you can be with something in your ears. In terms of sitting down and physically reading, a lot of that is done at work or downstairs in my living room while my husband plays video games or something. And this is a great place to end. What kinds of books do you like to read? Typically, or before I really started trying to stretch myself, I read almost exclusively historical fiction. Yes, this book is destroyed. So this was one of my favorite books as well. It's Whitney, My Love by Judith McNaught. I love historical romances. I also love classics. I have gotten so into thrillers this year. I think some of my favorite books, or the majority of my favorite books that I've read all year long, have all been thrillers. Like I said, I'm trying to get out of my comfort zone and read different things, because I can't just read with Judith McNaught and classics for the rest of my life. There's so much other great things out there in the world to read. The one thing I haven't really gotten into is fantasy. I started a really good fantasy book this year, but I haven't finished it because it's so long, and it's a little daunting for me. So that is it. That is my BookTube newbie tag. Oh, I'm also going to leave like a card to my most recent video where I did 2 announcements and a giveaway. The 2 announcements are more Authortube related. However, go watch the video, and at the end there is a giveaway that I'm running, and it ends on the 31st. I'm giving away a book, so go check it out. I will leave that up above and linked down below. And other than that, I really hope that you choose to stick around and become friends. So with that, go write some words and read a book, and I will catch you in the next one.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to my mom. Thanks for watching. Subscribe for your mom.